KiKi's with your aunties.
AskYoAunTeas, Blacks versus the healthcare system.
And SuperlaTeaves. So get your cups ready for Minoritea Report.
Hey, y'all.
Hey. Bundles.
Hey,
Hey. Come on now.
it's
My
our
name is Keisha.
anniversary.
I'm in the best. You know I do this. You can talk to my chest.
Oh,
Fuck it up, it's your birthday, bitch. Hey, fuck it up, it's your birthday, bitch. Hey, one time for the birthday, bitch. Oh.
it's your auntie's birthdays, bitch. Hey.
It's
That's
our
our anniversary.
anniversary.
Oh my.
Hey.
We done made it a year, y'all.
We made it.
Popping bottles over here.
Molotov! Ooh.
See, okay. That's Auntie
Okay.
Hennessy.
Hennessy deep throat in the bottle already.
Cheers.
Clank, clank, ladies. I got my little Central Michigan cup.
Clink, clink.
Hey.
Ow.
With a
Yeah.
little Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Ooh, they got bubbles. I got vodka.
She's saying
And you
true to her name.
Exactly. And I don't normally drink on an episode. That's kind of this out of the year, I could count on one hand the number of times I drank on an episode. Y'all
Really?
drink every episode.
Yeah.
She's saying like 4 or 5 times going up the stairs.
I mean,
Oh my God, that is a highlight of the year. Woo, woo, if y'all would have seen me fall off them steps.
that was harsh. That was harsh.
I was so excited to drink with y'all. Hurried up downstairs, pop a bottle of, I think it was Riesling or something. And I was trying to hurry up because I was already delaying the ladies for the episode. I run up the steps, trip, spill it all on the wall, spill it down the stairs, which delayed it even more. But I did not break the glass, though. So that was good. That was good.
Okay,
My
okay.
toe was hurting.
She's a professional.
My ego was hurting. Oh, Lord Jesus. But, man, we made it a year. This is wild.
Oh,
Wild.
y'all, it went by
It's
so
so
fast.
wild how
Good.
fast time has flown by. Because we were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, wait a minute, our 1-year anniversary is coming up in a couple of weeks. What is we gonna do?
What is we gonna do?
It's just, honestly, I just remember like December, like 2018. I just casually talking about it, being like, yeah, you guys want to start a podcast? You know, like, what are y'all thoughts on this? What we want to look like? What do we want it to sound like? And then like, just having fun, not even thinking about it. And then like, all of a sudden, it's been like my therapy. Like, honestly, I credit all of my growth, 95.8% of my growth
See.
to this podcast last year, okay? Because
Oh,
y'all have taught me
really?
a few things. Absolutely, absolutely. The community has taught me a few things as well. And it is also like just being more cognitive and actually doing the work to see what's going on in pop culture and politics and, you know, pay attention to what's happening in the world, you know, versus just going about my merry life, you know, in my own little bubble. Like this podcast has really helped me branch out and see that there are more things happening on in the world versus, you know, outside of what's just happening in my own life, you know? So,
Yeah.
I feel that.
yeah.
I feel that.
That is true because like that's the one thing probably more than anything is like it's almost pushed us and made us to have to be aware of things because like every week we're like, okay, what are we going to talk about? What do you care about? What do you not care about? Should we mention that? Is it going to be too late by the time of the episode? Because I was like constantly thinking about it almost in a way. And I agree. There's like probably certain things we talked about that I probably would have never talked to friends about or my husband about just because it's just like, okay, you kind of think about it maybe to yourself and kind of keep it moving. But to hop on here every week and talk to you two about it and then see like the responses we get in DMs and from our own friend group texting us and things like that. It's been a growth year for me as well. And it's also in a weird way made me have to form a point of view on some things.
Yes.
Sometimes you might be a little lackadaisical on certain topics. You're like, I don't know. It doesn't really affect me. But it might affect the community members or it might affect you two.
Mhm.
And it's just like, okay, how do I really feel about that? I actually
Yeah.
got to think about this for a second so I can get on here and hopefully talk somewhat intelligently.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's some community members out there like, whatever, you be forgetting everything, but
Smithy.
No, girl, that's me.
Smithy. Hey,
That's
Smithy.
me.
Yeah, that is true. Dewan forgets the most. That is a
Yes.
very true statement.
And I just
But,
don't say nothing if I don't know. I just like,
Well, yeah,
No
no, it's been
opinion.
great. It's honestly been something I've wanted to do for so long,
Mhm.
and it really took almost last year. Well, the end of 2018, when I knew I was getting laid off, I was like, okay, I'm going to have some time on my hands a little bit. Maybe it's a perfect time to do it. And it worked out. And obviously, thank God I'm back employed and shit. But I still enjoy this. Like, it's a highlight of my week to do this podcast with you guys. So
It's wild because like to that point, I never think of this as something I have to do, as something that I want to do and I'm protective of every single week. And we put so much time and energy into setting this thing up for this to be a long-term thing. You know, we didn't just like turn the switch on and was like, oh, okay, now we're on a podcast, and it just kind of magically came together. It's been work. Like,
it really has.
And I love the fact that through the whole thing, we've stayed true to creating a safe place. And I know that, I'll second the comments that you guys have made. This has been a really safe place to be able to voice a lot of the thoughts, opinions, and feelings and emotions about a whole lot of other stuff, that I might have had feelings about, I might have had thoughts about, but never really took the time to analyze it and really have the sense of accountability and responsibility with it, because it's not just the three of us on text with each other, which we do anyway.
So do.
We have a whole podcast just for
That is so
ourselves. But we get to get on this platform and talk about stuff that's going on that's coming from literally our point of view. And we don't, it's like, what does that saying go? If you're not, oh God, see, I forgot what it was already.
Shut up, Smithy. Shut up.
There's
Alexa.
Smithy right there. There she is. We hear you, girl.
Don't talk about it, be about it. That's what I was trying to think of. Don't talk about it, be about it. And I feel like we've stayed true to that. Like, I think we've been really responsible with our language and our platform. We've been open, we've been checked, and we thank y'all for doing that. But this has just been a great 12 months, and I just can't believe it's like already a year in.
And it's cool that more than anything, they've allowed us to be ourselves, Like, it's cool. Like, I think it's probably almost taken to this podcast for Carell to probably show, at least, and maybe not all sides of me, but like a lot of the different sides of myself, whether it be a gay person, a black person, intellectual person, music person, this and that, the different aspects of myself. There might be certain, groups of friends that might see more of one aspect, and the other groups of friends that see this. But I think the podcast kind of is a hodgepodge of all of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And hopefully it also shows maybe some people that might not have been as okay with a gay lifestyle to be like, okay, wow, we are, quote unquote, whatever normal is, that like it's just a gateway to show that just like you, we're just living life, trying to survive, trying to pay these bills, have a little fun on the side, and hopefully change the world a little bit, make some kind of influence a little bit, which is the same as the straight community, same as the Jewish community, same as the Muslim community, same, whatever it is. Hopefully it's just a small gateway and be like, you know what? I like the aunties. And you know what? I have a gay black coworker at work that I never really talked to because I had some kind of stereotype about them. But now it's allowed me to go up to them, talk to them, and forge a relationship, forge a friendship, forge an acquaintanceship, or whatever it may be. And that's what, at least from the DMs that we've seen, it seems it's kind of opened that door in some people's lives, which I'm probably the most proud of what we've done, because it's literally just us being us and showing the world that that's okay.
Yeah, and
I love the fact
I co-sign that too. Like, so many people that I've interacted with just love how unapologetically we are ourselves. Like, we aren't putting on like a front or a fake or trying to be anything that
Unless it's a
we
lace
aren't.
front.
Unless it's a lace front, right?
Girl, this grew right out of my scalp.
But
Know
I think
you.
we do a good job with encouraging others to be themselves, no matter what form, shape, or size or body type, of ethnicity, race, whatever. Like, just be you, And I think we do such a good job at just leading by example, just by being ourselves. And I think the world could use a lot more realness. Like, honestly, I mean, me personally, but 'cause she can't do, because she can't do fake and phony. Mm-mm. If you
There's been
ask
some
me, this my real
episodes.
ass hair too, okay?
There's been episodes that we get into it, honestly. Like,
Hmm.
I might not agree with Jarrell. Jarrell might not agree with Dewan. Dewan might not agree with me. But at the end of the day, we respect the opinions that we each have.
Yeah.
And hopefully that is felt by the community. And I think it is just by the responses that we've gotten. But that's real life. However, I have grown and thought of different perspectives because of you guys as well, and the community. Even today, there was awesome conversations with, we'll throw out another community member named Buck, just
Hey,
talking about some
Buck.
things, and we'll get to that later in the episode. But it's just awesome to have this ever-growing community. That's why we wanted it to be the community, so we can all continue to grow. It's just like, we don't want to be stagnant. We don't want to just be like, I don't want to be the same Carell at 36 now that I am at 40. Like, if I haven't learned and grown from now in 4 years, what am I doing? And that's been cool to listen back to some of the older episodes and come to this point today on our anniversary and be like, I can see the growth of the show and the growth of us personally.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of that, go ahead, boo.
It's just I love that what this platform has done in terms of enriching a lot of the relationships that I've had with just friends and family. Like, my mom listens to this show, my sister listens to this show. I have cousins and aunts and whatnot that listen to the show, which is really refreshing. And like, the conversations I have with my mom, through the lens of the show, because we just don't normally talk about the certain kinds of subject matter. No. And I remember it was like late last year, my mom and I were talking on the phone, because we usually talk every week or whatever on the phone. And, I remember her just saying, you have a very different relationship with your friends, on the podcast than you have with me. And I was like, well, first, yeah, obviously. But, to a lot of people, it might not be as obvious, especially those that, that have known you your entire life, or most of your life. And they think they know all aspects of you. But then when you start having these kinds of conversations, and a lot of the things that we talk about could be like blow up, like knock down, drag out fights, right?
Yeah.
Because differing opinions, a lot of emotion invested into it. And we've been able to have really great dialogue about things, seeing things from multiple different kinds of angles. And to your point, Carell, maybe not always agreeing, but being able to have the communication skills to come out of that conversation, respecting each other's difference of opinion, doesn't mean that our positions have changed, but
right.
We can still respect that. And it's nice for others who are close to us to be able to see that and see that other side of us as people, and then see that translate into our relationships with them.
Right.
What were you going to say,
we don't get it
Jarrell?
all the way right all the time either, so we don't want that perception out there.
True.
No, we're growing and learning along the way as well.
Yes.
Fact. No, I was gonna say, because Carell brought up, growth over the podcast. I just want to say thank you to my aunties for that OG intro today, because there's some community members who do not know. Before, when we started the podcast, we were the ones doing the intro for our episodes, and it became something probably like 2 months later, almost 2 months later. Like, we came out in April, and it was June. It was June when we finally started asking the community to bring us in with the intro. So some of y'all may not know, but that's the OG. We giving y'all a real anniversary today. Okay?
Hey, Booze, what's brewing today?
What's brewing today?
Oh man, but okay, enough about us. What we really want to do in this episode is we reached out to you guys. We're talking about us more, right?
This is going to be a whole episode of us talking about the aunties.
Well, we wanted to provide even more perspective on us and our thought process, but on a different level. Like, sometimes we obviously get the Ask Your Auntie questions, and we kind of give our opinions there. But this one is really giving a peek behind the curtain of either the show or literally us growing up, or just mundane, almost everyday stuff that you might not really see. And then also, before I forget, this is going to be the first episode that we put on YouTube.
Yes.
So from here on out, we're moving on up. We're growing up a little bit. We're going to put these
Right.
episodes on YouTube as well. So if you prefer, especially in quarantine life, have a little more time on your hands to watch us on the YouTube, we'll be out there. So just sit on the speaker.
It's interesting because there are some people who are either newer members or new-ish members of the community, and thank y'all for listening and hanging with us. But they'll say, like, I know they've hit us up individually and hit us up in the DMs, like, I couldn't tell who was talking then.
Yeah.
So now you'll be able to put some faces with the voices and be able to match them up. So whether you listen in on an audio or if you're watching it on a video, you'll be able to see which auntie is stirring the pot.
Exactly. And still please download, subscribe, and everything. We still need the downloads for our numbers, but download it and then go and watch it on YouTube as well. Watch it twice, listen to it twice. Who cares, But and then you get to also see the mannerisms of Jarrell.
That's all I got to say. People ain't got no reason not to listen or watch now.
Right.
Just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
You got 16 hours in the day. You can't find an hour and a half of us in the week. Come on now.
And honestly, we are actually already on YouTube. It's the audio, but now you'll get to see all our hand gestures and Jarrell popping his tongue and giving us face.
I am known for that. Yeah. Oh Lord Jesus, I'm not ready for this to be on YouTube because I do be making all the facial,
all kinds of faces.
Funny little side story. We had a meeting today at work, and everyone had to share their cameras, and I forgot I was sharing my camera. So she said something. I said, and then she started laughing. She was like, "I feel that side eye," and I was like, "Oh." My bad, you saw that, girl? I agree.
What else happened on that camera, by the way? Because you sent us a picture of that.
I got some coworkers that listen, so I'm gonna try to be a little bit discreet. But like my job is a very come as you are, kind of like church. And everyone's working from home. So there were some people in like sailor hats.
Looking like Beyonce in Love on Top.
Right. Some people was laid up on the couch. Some people were in a top hat. Some people had a bonnet on. I mean, girl.
I love doing it up for the Zoom.
Look, okay.
Right.
Yes, but no, I mean, my coworkers are absolutely amazing, but it was just really funny just to see people really being like, look, we at home, we here, like, we showed up, and on time.
I do feel like that one of the unintended impacts of this whole pandemic and people working from home, like with Zoom meetings, I think it's going to, and I'd be curious to see if this ends up panning out, and I'm hopeful that it does. I think this will relax a lot of workplace cultures because, the first couple of weeks of doing the work from home thing and getting on your Zoom meetings or whatever, WebExes or Teams or whatever, you're kind of prim and proper or whatever. But I've noticed that things just started getting like really, really relaxed. Like like people are no longer so much worried about what's going on in the background. There's not so much worried about what's going on with them. They're starting to liven it up, like with wearing costumes and whatnot. Because like
whatever you gotta get through this time, do it. I agree, and I love it honestly because you see a little more of their personality and things you might not have seen before. So I agree, I'm here for it. But all right, so we were begging and pleading for a couple weeks for the community to send in their questions. So your KiKi with your auntie questions and your superlateaves. So we'll do the superlatives later in the show. So please stay on because it's probably going to get real and people going to be trying it.
Can we just give a shout out to the community? Y'all really showed up for us. Like we begged and plead y'all for them intros and it'd be a struggle. It'd be like a wig with two hairs. But when it came to like the KiKi questions and the superlatives, y'all showed out. So thank you. That was awesome. Yeah.
And so one of the first ones, and actually I meant to put it in a different order, but how did we get our auntie names? Not our government names, but so like our auntie Vodka, Chardonnay. Yeah, we're starting with the KiKis now. So here we go. We don't have an intro. Maybe by the time this comes editing, what should we say? KiKi with your aunties.
KiKi with your aunties.
KiKi. Yeah.
KiKi, do you love me?
tea.
with the titty bombs? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
What's up?
You know,
She done put
we
on
do
some
that with
pounds, but she
everything.
done got
Well,
some now.
Let it bounce a little bit. Hey,
Oh, them quarantine pounds.
the COVID-19.
Okay.
we ain't got nothing but time and carbs, girl. Ain't no joke.
Look, as I came on the podcast eating celery and peanut butter though beforehand.
Just crunching all in our ear.
Right, in case it's a last minute summer,
Right. That's true. But yeah, how did we come up with our names? I forget how that came about. I think it started with Hennessy.
It sure did.
I think that's what it did. Like, we were just like, oh yeah.
It did.
Like, I think we were like, oh, maybe we come up with like a secondary name or something.
We were having a marketing meeting. We were having a production meeting and we were talking about marketing. And then we started talking about like our personalities and how like we have very different personalities. And then that turned into, well, what's my personality? And I think you and us both said, if we were drinks, what would we be? And then we both pointed to her and was like, Hennessy.
And that's how Auntie Hennessy became. I mean, y'all, when I tell y'all they were in sync, okay? It's talking about a 1-2 step with a punch at the end, bitch. I was like, well, there it is. I couldn't argue it.
And that was the bar. So
it sure was.
We could only go up from there.
Caught it.
That is true. And then vodka, like, I think I just chose vodka because that's what I drink.
Yeah.
But then the Chardonnay, we're like, oh no, you're not like a liquor. I think we were just like, you're not that. We're like, you kind of like a wine, like a Chardonnay or something like that.
Yeah. No, and I remember coming up with yours, Corel, because it was just after Palm Springs, and I bought you those vodka cranberries. And she was like, I was too due. And here comes me. We're like, you want another one, girl? Here you go.
That is true. You kept on like pouring it in my freaking cup. I'm like, I don't need nothing else, but I'm gonna show drink it though. Thank you, girl. So that's how it started, honestly. So that question came from Leslie. Mother Leslie, which is
yes.
So yes, vodka, Chardonnay, and Hennessy is not our government names, and actually, Corel, Jarrell, and Dewan, that's our government names. It's not a made-up name. It's what our parents gave us. So, let's see here. Would you rather be 5 minutes late or 35 minutes early?
Early. 35 minutes early. I'd rather be 35 minutes early.
Because, she loves to make an entrance.
Oh, there we go.
Gotta be mean. And I don't got time to be wasting time. So at least being 5 minutes late, it means that I am making sure that I'm giving time to the things that I'm doing beforehand. Because if I'm going to be 30 minutes early, then that means there's other things I can be doing with the 30 minutes that I'm just sitting around waiting.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's one way to spin it.
It bothers me to be late. Like, I think that comes from my dad. My dad always made sure we were like an hour early. So like it bothers me to my core to be late. So I'd rather
always want to be on time and have I want to be prepared. I want to be on time and prepared always. And for me, like being late, like it happens from time to time or whatever, but like it drives me absolutely bonkers to be late.
I would rather be early. I hate being late too because my mom was one of those people. So like whenever we were going on family trips or doing anything, she's like, oh, just 5 more minutes, baby, 5 more minutes. And then we sitting at Auntie's house for the next 3 hours. And I'm like, it's 11:30 at night. I'm tired, Mom. Like she showed up late to my graduation. She showed up late to like,
oh no.
My mom was always late. That's what I told her, like, when Fizz and I were talking about, like, when we got engaged and we were talking about, like, wedding planning and stuff like that, I was like, Mom, I love you to death, but I can't give you no task because you can't get nothing done. Like, I was like, now I will go to you for ideas, and you can help with the planning with that, but I can't give you a task because you won't get it done on time. She's a very last minute person. So I really do hate being late. But 5 minutes late, I think, is respectable. Like when you 15, 30 minutes late, that's rude.
When I was a trainer way back in the day, when I first started my career, I was a new hire coach trainer, whatever. And I worked for the bank, and we'd have classes of like 35 people. And I told them on day one, if you are not here by the time the clock strikes 12, you are locked out of the room.
I know
and I
that's
lock
right.
them out. I
Good.
I
don't mess
believe it.
around.
I see it.
I got things to do, and if you can't get here on time, you miss out.
It's just
Mm.
disrespectful to my time now. That's how I see it. It's just like that means you really don't respect my time. It's like you care about your time so much more that you're gonna be late. Nope. Okay.
But if you bring food though to
Oh,
share, not
oh.
food for yourself, but if you bring food to share, that's a whole other conversation.
And if you cute, you might get a slide.
You
So,
know that is true too.
Right.
Round,
just
chicka,
saying.
round, round. All right. So the next key question is: what kitchen appliances do you use every day?
Appliances.
A
I don't
stove?
know.
I use
Is that
my
what
I
y'all
use
think?
my bullet. I use my
Uh,
bullet. I make a smoothie.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah, almost every single day. I mean, it's obvious. It's between the stove or the bullet.
And I don't even use the stove every day. A, because
I
Court
cook.
cooks a lot more than I do. But
Yeah.
even then, maybe the refrigerator? That might be
I was just about to say that.
You know what?
When I be looking for something to eat, the refrigerator,
Right.
every day.
And
I'm
I
a
No,
don't
I
know
cook.
where
think
this.
for
Go ahead.
yeah, for me, I think it would probably just be the stove. Like, I mean, we take turns cooking here, so
Maybe the
yeah, I don't know.
toilet. Is that an appliance?
It's not
Kitchen,
in the
girl,
kitchen, girl.
kitchen.
Not in the
Oh, it
But you
does say
kitchen.
know
kitchen.
what?
That's right.
I mean, if you live in a studio, though,
Ah,
I mean, things are close. It's tight.
that's funny. Okay. So if you could meet three historical figures, who would they be and why?
I don't like this
Oh, okay. Here
question
we
because y'all
go.
know I don't know shit about no damn history. I barely know geography, y'all. Like,
Ah,
I needed like a week to prep for this question because I'm gonna waste my
historical
shit. I just
figures.
know.
And it could
Okay,
be
you know what?
anyone that's probably passed at this point. So it could be someone
Yeah.
that passed yesterday or
Okay,
a
so
thousand
then,
years ago.
okay, so I think two of mine for sure would be Maya Angelou.
Hmm.
And then I would love to meet Whitney Houston. I would just love to meet her and just to be able to hear her sing live in person.
Right.
You know. Two,
Mhm.
also be that friend and be like, bitch, which you better don't. Like what we not gonna do.
Hmm.
Be that one friend that she needed.
You
You
want it? You
know.
want a Nippy? You want to talk to
Right?
Nippy?
Right? For real. For real. Um, and then I don't know. I think it would have to be. I know he just passed a couple months ago, but I think Kobe Bryant. I, and the reason why I say Kobe is just because I would love to talk more about him and his transformation as a black man and the eye, and just seeing him be like so much more than what the stereotypical black male is labeled, like calling
Mhm.
himself a girl dad, being okay with being emotional, being like a public figure and giving back to the community, like, and just, you know, striving to be more, I really like that about him. And just from one black man to another black man, it's just nice to have someone just to be like, as a mentor, just talk to,
Right.
So
Mhm.
I think they'll
Cool.
be my
Okay.
three.
Mhm.
What you got, Dewan? Or who do you
I
have?
have two. I'm trying to figure out the third historical figure. So the first person that I would pick would probably be Martha P. Johnson,
Mm,
um,
yes.
from
Good
New
answer.
York.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that, like, as I'm thinking about this question, I'm thinking about like social impact and their view on the world around them, and yes, there's like a lot of like really cool like celebrities and things like that for pop culture reasons, but like, I just in the very few like documentaries that show Marsha P and what she believed in and how she was really kind of like the mother of the LGBTQ plus movement, and as a gender fluid, they didn't even have the terminology back then, but
Right.
she didn't identify as a cross dresser, and she wasn't really identifying as a drag queen, but she,
Yeah.
blurred the lines between, masculine and feminine, although she leaned more feminine, so gender
Right.
fluid. I would just love to be able to really sit down and have a conversation with her, because I feel like that conversation would be real different. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
away from the pomp and the circumstances, to be able to sit down and have a conversation with her with tea in our hands at the kitchen table and just talk about like what she's observed, who she is, what she believes. Like, I feel like that would just be transformative. The other person would probably be somebody like Albert Einstein, or who's the guy who I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the guy that worked with all the electricity.
Edison.
No, the other one that worked with electricity, that transferred electricity from orb to orb, and they shut his shit down.
Oh.
He has it's I can't think of his name to save my life.
Alexa?
But and the reason I say that is because someone who has the kind of mind to understand, or at least attempt to try to understand the world and how the world and physics and the universe that we're in works, is just they're on a completely different level. They're on a completely different level of conversation, a completely different level of understanding the world around them, a completely different level of thinking. And I've just never been exposed to that. And I think that would just, it could be completely boring, or it could be like, I think it could blow my mind.
It's interesting you said that. Like, my dad's an organic chemist with a PhD in it. So, I mean, there's different levels to it or whatever. But I grew up in a minor way like that. Like, the stuff he would talk about, he just understood so greatly. And we would all sit there like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? And like, but he had a knack for breaking complex things down simply for us. At first he would start off saying all the crazy stuff, and they'd be like, da 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 da. Be like, okay, I'm with you now. Like, why didn't you say that from the get-go? But I agree. There's something very interesting of just like brilliant minds like that, to see how it works and how they even got there, why they got there, and why were they even curious about that in the first place.
Yeah. It's like that guy Neil deGrasse, right? That physicist. Yep. Yes. Astrophysicist, excuse me. And he's so popular because he's able to talk about things that are like string theory and the multi-universes and all of these things that are so theoretically complex. But he's able to break that down in a way that we can actually have you don't have to be learned in that kind of way, but you can have a dialogue with him, and he can break that shit down, and you can just walk away feeling like, damn, I just learned a whole lot of shit that I ain't getting out of my Encyclopedia Browns.
And who's your third one? We got to speed these answers up. Come on now, y'all.
Damn. Yeah. Come back to me. Okay, what? I'm going to say Jesus. Jesus. I'm going to just put it on out there, because if he existed, and then I would want to meet him, because there's a whole lot of questions and a whole lot of like misinterpretations of them tweets via the Bible
I think
that I want to get cleared up. So
mine would be Jesus. Probably Michael Jackson. Even I know that's a troubled answer.
It's not.
No.
He's another one where it's just like, he was just so in the public eye for so long and so brilliant for so long. I would just want to see if I could talk to him like a normal person, because I feel like not a lot of people did.
Really?
And then,
it's interesting you say that, because I would have thought that you would have been more interested in like his the production part of him, because
absolutely
he's like brilliant in terms of how he thinks about and arranges like musical content.
That's a given.
I feel
she
like
ain't talking to Michael without doing that.
We're gonna get there for sure.
Right.
But I feel like everybody probably came to him on that level first, always, and never just asked him, how are you doing and why are you feeling that way? Then we could get to the music later. But like, I feel like the foundation of how he was feeling helped his music or hurt him.
You want to be a friend.
Exactly. It's just like, I feel like
I
probably never had that. And that's probably the empathetic part of me, is just like, everyone saw that. Everyone noticed that, like, nobody talked to him like a human being, but they didn't care because we wanted music. And yes, I would want to see how.
Or they wanted the benefit of being around somebody like that, financially or whatever, access and all that.
So I would almost want to ask him that question. It's just like, has anyone ever just stopped and asked you, like, how are you doing? Right. So, so that's two, Jesus and MJ, and then probably someone like Frederick Douglass or Harriet Tubman or some, someone that was like during like the slavery time period and got out and succeeded, just to kind of, again, ask them questions of like, what gave you the strength to do it? How did you do it? How did you like chill in a swamp for that long and cross all those thousands of miles to get your family out of slavery? And there's something in there, just almost the psychological part of it that is, I don't know, interesting to me. So.
I'm really struggling with this concept of what's real and what's editorialized, because a lot of what we know from history is editorialized. It's told through a particular point of view. So when you look at like Black history in the United States, for the longest time, and currently, it's been told through the white lens of what they wanted to tell us. And so, it's been within the last 30, 40 years that we've been chipping away and starting to tell our own stories and whatnot. So it's just like, I love the question because it starts me to think critically about like, well, then who are those people that when you take away all the noise, like, would I want to meet, George Washington? No. Would I want to meet, like, it would be nice, but like, when I think about people that I would really want to like have a conversation with and be, and really get to know who they are and what they're all about, like, that's a whole other kind of level of thinking, I think.
All right, so we're going to keep it moving. If you think of a third one, and community, by now, Dewan's a long-winded one. But it'd be good.
Sorry, but not sorry.
Exactly. This was probably more, this is to all of us. And sorry, I should have been saying who sent these questions. That last one was from Dominic. Thank you, Dominic. Hey, girl. And then the kitchen appliances was from Blase. Stud on IG. Who's Stud? I never seen that one.
She's new.
Oh,
Stud. Yeah, she's new.
Thank you, girl.
Yeah,
okay, so this one is from Miss Gray Luxury. It must have been a random one. But it's a good one because it probably go geared to Dewan. Do you prefer to shop at H&M or Vintage? And I'm sure you probably don't shop at H&M, but like the proverbial H&M and the proverbial Vintage, what side do you lean on? Are you more of a vintage shopper or maybe more of a what's trendy and what's current and new shopper?
I'm not really into either. If I had to pick one out of the two, because I'm a rule follower, I'm a stickler for that. I would say H&M.
No loopholes.
No, it's black or white.
Mm-hmm.
She a Leo, so it's black, it's white.
It's white.
So no, I would have to say I would lean more towards the H&M. I would rather try the more trendier kind of stuff, but I don't like the quality, so
right.
I would never shop there. I'm not a vintage girl, so that stuff doesn't really appeal to me. But yeah,
she didn't already live it. I feel that.
Been there, done that.
Okay, so
Jarrell.
1 for 1. You got a whole episode to get through,
okay.
Girl.
She slid that in there too.
Okay, real quick.
Right, real quick, because she's already been there. What you got, Jarrell?
I think for me it'll be H&M as well. I don't know, something about vintage clothes. I don't know. I just feel older than I am, and I don't know. I just don't. I like the more of like a crisp and more trendy look than something that looks like you just roll out of bed, like I just, and don't get me wrong, like that look looks great on certain people, just not me. She don't got the face or the body for it, so she got to keep it kept together.
Right.
I'm
probably more H&M as well. She's trying to come back with the rebuttal.
Okay, hold on, let me put this in a ponytail real quick, but
Wait,
I'm probably more
let me get
H&M
one right up here.
Right, get that little loop. Oh, that's kind of cute. Get a little rubber band. Yeah, H&M for me more than vintage. I think it does, like you said, look cute on a lot of people. Like they know how to shop vintage stores and Goodwills and things like that and pull some stuff. You're like, where'd you get that from? And how did you put that together? But my brain doesn't look that way, nor do I have the time. I find I don't have the patience actually to go to like a vintage store to find and hunt what I have in my head of what I want it to look like.
Right.
So that's the only time I have that is for Halloween stuff. Like I like creating my own Halloween costumes like that. But day in, day out, that's just too much time and too much effort and brain space to take the time to figure that out. So.
And people love the hunt, but not your auntie Chardonnay. Pass.
So, all right, this one's from Buck. Who is Beyonce, who is Kelly, and who is Michelle?
I'm going last.
Who is Beyonce? Who is Kelly? This is a shady ass question.
It's a shady ass question.
I honestly, this is the God honest truth.
Look,
I feel like we all have our moments. Honestly, I feel like we all have moments or episodes where we're the ones like that is just shining. That episode that has either the most witty statement or just a very thought-provoking moment, whatever it may be. So to me, that would be like a Beyonce. Then there's moments where it's like you have your little moments, but you kind of sit back a little bit and let the other person sign. You kind of alley-oop them a little bit, and set them up because that question's going to be good for whomever it may be. I'm going to set them up. I got this. And that's kind of more of a Kelly. And then Michelle's just there assuming the oohs and ahs. You need that person because the group wouldn't survive without that person. But they might be a little more in the background for that episode. So I feel like we're always there. So maybe that's a PC answer.
I got two answers.
I would say okay. Do you want to go or did you want to go last?
Okay, you can go. I thought you were still thinking. I was trying to give you more time, sis.
Why she give you the head nod like that prison?
I was surprised she was ready. She was like giving us the look.
You came through the door.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say if we were to break down kind of like personalities, I would say Jarrell is Beyonce, Carell is Kelly, and then I would be Michelle. And the reason I say that is because I think about like, who's the one that's given the vibe? In my opinion, that would be the Kelly. Okay, so that would be Carell. Who's the one that's given the pop and the sizzle? Okay. Who would that be? That would be Jarrell. And then who's the one that's going to be the more kind of like grounded and conservative one? That Auntie Chardonnay.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's honestly that's verbatim my first answer. That's how I saw it as well. But then I thought about like how the podcast came to be, and then I was like, well then Carell would be the Beyonce. Because she was the one that was reaching out and she was getting everything information. I was like, okay, cool, like makes sense. And then DeJuan, I see you as I would say that you would be the Kelly because the way you compliment a lot of his ideas too. And when I came into it, like it was a Carell and DeJuan thing, and I was like, you know what, okay. And I honestly would say that would be the Michelle because compared to like the work that goes behind the scenes in the community, don't know this. Like y'all do a lot more than I do, and so that's another reason why I say I'm the Michelle over here because she's just here for her oohs and ahs. So I'll give y'all a key and a key quite often. So when you said oohs and ahs, I was like, can't even lie. So yes, I just blasted myself, but I mean that was the behind the scenes like aunties how we make the podcast.
Like that's the thing about people like pick on Michelle so bad. A, she has a great voice. It's just different.
Yeah, she does.
And B, she was still getting them coins. Like y'all wasn't getting coins. Like what the hell y'all picking on her for? Just because she fall a couple times. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, leave Michelle alone. Y'all ass didn't survive in the group. How about that?
There are certain people. There are certain people out there that like want the shine, and I feel like Michelle is the type of person that she's in there for the craft. Like because she can't dance, she's uncoordinated, but she's got that great voice. She's covered in the blood of Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost and all that is of the Bible and all that stuff or whatever. So she's not wearing a skimpily little, like outfit to everybody else. She always wearing the little pantsuits with the little, kick boot, like open it at the bottom.
That say, let me sit this ass on you.
So like I have to respect a chick that, like just knows what her lane is and she delivers every single time. And yes, she is getting those coins. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Buck, for trying to break up the group or something with that shady ass
He's still
question.
here.
We still
I'm
here,
a
baby.
survivor. I
Hey,
ain't gonna give up.
what?
I'm not gonna stop.
What?
I'm a survivor.
What?
Hey.
I ain't gonna dish
You
you
see,
on the
I tried to
internet.
wiggle. I tried to wiggle off beat,
My
yo. I was
mama's
trying
my
to give
baby
you a
on
little
the internet.
Michelle.
That's the offbeat wiggle, girl.
Ooh, this is a good one. This one comes from Garrus. My main question is his main question that because he got like 95 questions in this one little thing, but his main question is, what was y'all most embarrassing sex moment?
Oh, Lord Jesus.
I was just talking about this the other night.
Oh, word. How did that come up?
I don't remember. But oh, that's right, because for some reason we were like on this Madonna kick. We had some friends over, and we were on this Madonna kick and we were watching all these videos, and Frozen song came on, and you know how a song just take you back. And what had happened was I had hooked it. This is way back, way back in my thotting days.
Yeah.
And I was a little twinky little thing in my 20s. I hooked up with this guy, whatever. We went back to his place. This is when the Madonna Frozen album just came out. It was like #1 in charts and blah blah blah. We got to his place or whatever. He put the album on or whatever, and we're like making out or whatever. And I had gum in my mouth. So I put the gum, I didn't spit it out or whatever. I just tucked it. You know how you tuck it between your gums and your teeth or your cheek. So I tucked it right there. And then clothes started coming off. And then I started going down to give a little, fellatio in the apartment.
Right.
And the gum fell out into his pubic hair.
It got stuck.
And got stuck, and everything had to stop. He had to cut it out, and it was a wrap. Take me home.
Oh, no.
Never saw him again in life. It was over.
Shut up. Never saw him again.
Well, we need to find him. Community, y'all get to work. Get to work, community. I need someone to be Harriet the Spy over there and be like,
ever heard someone
listen,
tell
I
that
just
story
laid
on
that.
the flip side? We need to find this human being.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was so hot and heavy because when you don't want to stop the mood, so I'm like, I'm not gonna stop this. I got to do something with this gum or whatever, and it just like, whoa. And then I tried to get it, and then the hair got stuck in.
That is hilarious.
Can't do anything now. Just take me home. I gotta go.
Leave.
Right going on in the background.
The end of you and me.
Leave.
Oh man.
Where's Jarrell?
I really don't have one. If I'm being like honest. Like I think I don't know. I like one time I was writing this dude and like he hit the spot and like just a little bit of pee came out. And at first I was like, and I was like, okay, I need to stop. And he was like, no, that's actually kind of hot. And then the next he kept going, and I was just like, but the girl, he was like, no, I know, I wanted you to keep going. And I was like, okay.
Oh, you said
it started off embarrassing, and then it turned into something that he liked. But in my mind, I'm like mortified. Like I didn't sign up for this. I'm not into this. Like, well, damn.
Yeah. Mine would be. I never had one like just like in the moment, but I had one like leading up to it. So like, invited a guy over. And honestly, I don't even know if we thought we were gonna have sex. Like, I guess maybe you think it might lead to it or whatever. But it was like, come on over, let's watch a movie, whatever. And so he goes to the bathroom, and he's in there for a while. So I'm like, oh, dude is doing like #2. Wow, we definitely like if we're gonna do it, you're gonna need to hop your ass in the shower. So he's in there for a while. And then I hear that like he just finally opens the door. He had flooded the toilet, and like the toilet was overflowing because he had done a #2. And so I'm like trying to remain cool, calm, and collected for him because that's already like
A
so
deal
embarrassing.
breaker.
And it's a deal breaker, but I was just like, okay, let me cool, calm, and collected. So he's just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, okay, it's cool. So like I go and like grab like a bunch of those like towels and stuff, like, and end up obviously throwing those towels away and shit. But yeah, flooded
and shit.
And shit. Flooded and shit.
Literally and shit. And I will never forget that because A, it was kind of funny, but it was disgusting. And obviously completely ruined the mood. He ended up leaving, of course. But then empathetic Corel always thinks on the flip side of how embarrassing does that have to be that you literally went to go take a shit at a person's house that you potentially might have tried to hook up with later, and you end up flooding the toilet. Yeah, that was a bit
He was wrong for taking a shit at your house, though.
I agree with that statement.
Like, you need to take care of that stuff before you go out.
If I recall right, we might have both been out that night. So I don't think he went home, which he probably should have went home before he came over, kind of thing. So
especially if he had to do number 2.
Bitch. Huh.
I mean, I heard of stuff like bubbling up, but I mean,
he literally blew up the bathroom and that toilet overflowed. And I will never forget that. The look on his face, me trying to be cool, calm, and collected about it, and see just ruining the whole night and be like, bitch, see you later. And like,
but see,
I saw him here and there after that too. Like we kind of just stopped talking after that. And not really for me because I was like, okay, but it is what it is. But probably for him because he was so embarrassed. But I would see him here and there at bars. And like it was just this awkward like energy.
But see, the big difference between our stories is we told something about ourselves. You told something about somebody else.
I don't think I've had that's true. I don't think I've had like Jarrell a funny weird moment, honestly. Like, cause someone even last week asked me, like I was on I know I'm being long-winded now. I was on a Zoom cocktail party, and someone asked, "Have you ever like kicked the lampstand all over during sex and stuff?" I was like, no, I've never done that. Like, I can't recall anything too embarrassing.
I kicked him.
Oh Lord, what you kicking now?
You kicked somebody? Did you kick him?
A dog.
Wait, why was the dog right there? Close enough for you to kick?
because this was like one of my first like boyfriends or whatever. And we were like, you know, in the bed and naked and doing stuff or whatever. And he would let his dog in the room. And this was like a small little dog. It wasn't like a big dog. It was like, I think it was like a Chihuahua or something. I can't even remember right now. But I remember like we were like doing the horizontal mambo and the dog kept getting on my leg and humping my leg. So I just like, and then the dog fell off the bed. And I was like, ooh, what happened?
So there was a lot of humping going around all in that room.
And she wanted to get in the mix. And like, no, I don't play that. No, I'm not into bestiality. Your dog is not, it's bad enough your dog has to be in the room watching us. Because I think that's creepy. But
it is. I had an ex who his dog would like be like moaning and scratching outside the door whenever we would have sex. And I'm just like, your dog is killing the mood, yo.
Killing it.
And you know they react into the pheromones because you know when that stuff starts happening, you start we don't smell it, but you start exuding human pheromones, and the dogs be reacting to that shit.
Right.
Oh my God.
Man. All right, so we got a lot of KiKi, so we're gonna have to like do this on another episode as well. We're gonna do one more before we go to the next segment here, and that is this is from Smithy. Hey Smithy.
Hey Smithy.
And this is kind of a deep question. When you look in the mirror, what's one feature you'd change?
My hair.
You want that bob? You got that Michelle Pfeiffer bob going on right now?
I just want more of it, more hair.
Yeah.
No, that's for real. My answer.
Okay.
That's my answer. More hair.
I think for me, I just wish maybe my face wasn't as round as it is. You know, like sometimes I look in the mirror and I see my face and I'm like, damn, bitch, you got one of them old school gusher heads. You know, like your shit's just large and round. Like
milk
for real. No, I'm dead serious. Like especially when I shave off my facial hair. Like my face looks even rounder, and my fucking lips are like full and big too. No, so I just wish like maybe I would have like more of a like cut
Chisel,
jawline,
yeah.
yeah, chiseled jawline. But I mean, other than that, she love herself.
Feeling myself.
Hmm.
That's a good question. Like, I never really like looked in the mirror and said, "Oh, I want to change this and this." So like, I gotta think on this one. The only thing right now is I'm a little heavier than I like to be.
Hmm.
And so, especially like, I mean, every guy, a lot of their weight goes to their stomach, but like, especially in our family, like every male in our, like my dad's side of the family, they might be like slender, but all the weight goes to their stomach.
Oh
Hmm.
wow.
So that's the only thing I noticed where I'm like, ooh, my stomach's starting to get big, like my family. So I
Mm.
noticed that. A lot of people are like, oh, that's not bad. What are you talking about? Me, I'm like, okay, I need to lose some weight to get rid of that. So that's the only
Mm.
thing that I'm like, I don't like it, but I try mostly to love where I'm at.
Yeah.
You
Mm.
know,
I
it
wish I was more
obviously it's easier
flexible.
said. It's easier said than done. I get that, but I
Yeah.
usually try to love where I'm at.
I wish I was more flexible. Like I
Ooh,
can't
me too.
sit
That's a
Indian,
good answer too.
but I can't because I can't sit Indian style. Like that's how inflexible I am. Like I
That's
can't
That's
sit
literally how I'm
Indian
funny.
sitting
style.
right now. I'm
Yeah,
literally sitting Indian
can't do
style
it.
right
I've
now.
never been able to do it. My knees only go like a certain whatever. You know, yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
do
I'm
that.
not
I say
flexible at all.
my other thing I would change. I wish I was taller. Like
I wish a
cuz
little
I'm
bit
five
taller,
nine,
y'all.
I was thinking the same
so
thing.
but I do wish I was a little taller. And I only say this mostly because of sports, the
Hmm.
athlete in me. Like if I had my 32-inch vertical, I mean, it used to be 38-inch vertical, but if I
Okay,
had that and it was like
you stunting
six
on us.
two, 6'3", like
Yeah,
I would I feel like I would be a professional at something. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like I think being taller just also gives you a little bit more advantage if you have some of the other athleticism qualities that come with it.
yeah.
But true story, growing up, I did hate the color of my eyes. I
Really?
used to have an issue with the color of my eyes. I hated my dark brown eyes, and it's because my sister has these very beautiful hazel brown eyes,
Mm.
and my grandmother had them as well.
Mm.
Okay.
And so like it skipped my mom's generation and it went to my sister. And I always was like, man, I'm the firstborn. Like I should have had those eyes. Like I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
felt some
Mm.
kind of way. And like always like when we were kids, everyone would be like, oh my God, like your daughter's eyes are so beautiful. And I'm like sitting here, I'm like, but she got a son, who is just as cute. You know what I'm
What
saying? Like,
about me?
right,
What
right
about
about
me?
me. So like I kind of like I never resented my sister, like I always like loved that about her. I was like, whatever. But I just wish that, I had the eyes too, so someone would notice me for
Mhm.
something that I had no control over.
Right.
Like
Right. And
so. But
honestly,
now I
and
love my
that's
eyes.
a
Like
deep
people say it's the most
situation.
telling thing about me now, because
Mm.
people say like your eyes are honest, like
Your eyes are definitely honest, girl.
like so.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I know I used to hate my high cheekbones,
Mhm.
like smiling, like I can't get, and I'm always laughing and shit. But the older you get, you see people trying to pay for high cheekbones. You see people trying to pay for
Mhm.
like fuller
Right.
lips. You see people putting beauty marks and everything. Because like I have moles, and that runs in our family. Like we have just like moles galore. I have one right here that I might get burnt off, honestly, because it's
Mhm.
like right in the middle of my cheek. But it's just like you see people doing all this stuff, so it's just so weird that like stuff that we hate about ourselves, other people want,
Hmm.
Want.
and it's just
Hmm.
Yes.
like that's literally why I try my darndest. It is a everyday thing. I got to remind
Mhm.
myself. Don't get me wrong, because there's some days where I'm like, I don't like that, but whatever. Well, I try to literally love where I'm at because people are paying for what you got.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So wow. But anyway, community, thank you for those kikis. We got a shit ton
Yes.
more.
Yes.
We're gonna have to do this
Clearly, we like to
again.
talk because we're already an hour in. So we're gonna save these for the next couple of episodes to knock these out because you guys took the time to send them. So we want to make sure that we actually take the time to answer them for you guys. There's some
Mhm.
great questions and there's some
Hmm.
other good ones coming up as well. But in the meantime, we do want to get to our favorite segment of the last
Yes.
year with every episode now
Yes.
because of it. And what is it? Ask
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 your
your
aunties.
aunties. Mm, come on with it. Mm.
And this one Normally we try to stick to the queue, but we got one that was very timely, that we felt like needed to hop the queue. So sorry, community, if you haven't heard the question, we'll get there. But we felt like this one should be answered sooner than later. And it says, COVID-19 is taking out the Black populations in Milwaukee and Detroit. I know resources and accessibility and knowledge can be barriers for a lot of Black folks. What is you guys' opinion on a racist and, quite frankly, untrustworthy health system?
I mean, I will say, if you've been paying attention to the government, and especially our health system, you should already know that they ain't checking for us like they're checking for certain people. And that's just not the Black community, but that's just any POC for the most part. Let's keep it 100. So I think, we as a people got to do better at educating ourselves. Because as long as we stay educated, then guess what? They can't tell us shit. And as long as we know, then we have something to stand for and something to fight for. But if you don't know, that means you ain't checking for it. That means it ain't on your radar, which means they get away with not checking for you. It's okay to remind people to be like, hey, guess what? I'm here. See me, hear me, and give a damn about me, especially when it comes to our government. And we got to start teaching our people to give a damn about themselves and start holding those people accountable to see us and hear us. Otherwise, and that's like kind of like a little off subject, but kind of like the census, how we talked about a couple weeks ago, how important the census is. Like that is our time to be heard and be like, hey, count all of us. So we can get all the coins and our, in our areas and our pockets,
and make sure everyone sends it back in. It's on us as well to fill this shit out.
Right, and you can also go online and do it too.
It's easier online, yeah.
Yeah. So I've shifted my focus on trying to attack the government on it, and I focused on making sure that we uplift each other because there's strength in numbers. So if I am teaching five people, POCs about this, then that's 5 more voices being heard, than my one voice. So I think we really got to, stress the narrative of stop waiting on a white savior. Save your own ass first.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that are problematic with our healthcare system, specifically for Black and brown people, and more specifically for Black people. I think the biggest thing is the more seats we have at the table, the more representation we can have for the issues and the impacts that we're experiencing today. It's only because we've had the number of Black and brown people who have been in positions of power to support these kinds of studies being done in the first place, right? Let's recognize the fact that we don't have 100 years of history of data and reports coming out about the impacts of or the status of Black and brown people in the healthcare. We know anecdotally. I'm sure every Black person in their family has heard, a grandparent or great grandparent say, "Don't go to hospital, you're gonna die." And that doesn't come from a fear of medicine. It comes from a fear of neglect. It comes from a fear of mismedicine and mistreatment. So, and we all have stories of family members. My great grandfather. My great grandfather used to work in the coal mines in Virginia, and on my mother's side. Sorry, I'm just going through my family tree. And his foot got run over by one of the carts. And so they took him to the hospital. And because it was a whites only hospital, whatever, he had to be waited on until he could be seen or whatever. And then they delegated somebody to see him. And they wrapped his cast so tightly that his foot actually ended up getting, instead of healing after they fixed it or whatever, it caught gangrene, and then his whole body got infected and he died. So like we have stories like this in our own family. It's not just a belief and a conjecture. It's fact. But to the point, I think that the more that we can impress the importance of having a seat at the table. So whether that is, becoming a doctor, becoming a nurse practitioner, becoming a healthcare administrator, going into the business side of healthcare, us owning our own senior citizen and in-home health care facilities. There is no incentive for, the white majority to make changes, because to them, that's not seen as important because it's not impacting their community.
Yeah, and it's just another area that shows the ramifications of slavery, because a lot of the health issues and the mistrust stems from that. Like, what we were given to eat were the worst of the animals, quote unquote, at least in the eyes of the slave owners. So a lot of the soul food that we as a community uplift might not be the healthiest thing for us, but we uplift it because that's all we had, and we made lemonade out of lemons, and it's just been passed down from generation to generation, the mistrust. Or I went to the doctor and they wrapped my cast so tightly I got gangrene. Or I went to the doctor and they misdiagnosed me because I was a black man, or I had to go to a whites only hospital. You just, like you said, hear these stories time and time again, and these fears from past generations. They tell their kids, they tell their sisters, they tell their siblings, they tell their neighbors. These stories continue to go. So that's one angle of it. It's just like, we got to get over that and be like, okay, educate ourselves on who are the proper doctors, who are the proper nurses. What's wrong with me? Is there something I can control? Can I eat better? Can I exercise more, etc.? So I'm just trying to look at stuff that we can control as a community. On the other side of it, there's a socio-economic part of it that, unfortunately, blacks and brown people in this country are more of the poor communities. Mm-hmm. And we know that a lot of these communities might not have the funds and the wherewithal to be able to get the proper healthcare that we need, which is why, honestly, a healthcare system for all would hopefully benefit. But then obviously it goes to, okay, they'll find a way to put certain hospitals in certain communities and things like that. So we got to make sure we keep an eye on that as well. But there's a point of almost like accessibility that we need to be aware of, and finding and visiting potentially black-owned or brown-owned or Asian-owned facilities to make those facilities successful, so that more come about. Mm-hmm. And then also just making sure that we are looking out for our communities. Because the sad thing about this COVID-19 thing is, like, we're seeing the stats showing that literally some communities where we're only like 20% of the population, we're dying at rates at like 40%, 50%, like 2-3 times what we should be doing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there's an urgent enough answer right now, unfortunately. Like, I don't know what we can change at a drop of a hat. However, I do know that we're always seeing our barbers. We're always seeing certain people in our community. We need to start rallying each other and saying, hey, I heard this happened to Sister Geraldine or whatever. Mm-hmm. How can we help her? Like, why did that happen? Was she educated enough? Did she not know that we could do X, Y, Z? I think we need to start spreading the education, spreading our wealth amongst our own communities, because, like Jarrell said, clearly the history shows the white community isn't going to necessarily take care of us. Yeah. And we shouldn't be dying at these rates more. Like, that's so wild in the richest country mm-hmm. in the world. We keep touting that. Old boy in the White House keeps touting that. Mm-hmm. Best economic times ever is what he's saying.
Yeah,
but how are we dying that much more?
But so I think that's something you said last week when we were talking about this. Mm-hmm. Is like, and then kind of you hit on this a little bit here too, just like, the black and brown communities being the poorest, people still got to fucking work.
Absolutely.
I remember you saying that last week. And so that could be another reason why, our people of color are dying at a more higher rate, because they are risking their lives to still be able to survive, And
like the pursuit of survival is actually killing them just as quickly as the disease would honestly
Yep.
kill them, you know?
Exactly.
And that's the
Yeah.
sad thing. And the accessibility too. It's just like we might be working jobs that might not have health care, that might not give, you know, certain benefits that a better paid job or whatever it may be provides. So, I mean, it's a huge issue. And I really am glad that Dr. Fauci got on national TV at one of these press conferences to say, hold on, let me come back to this mic real quick, because the data is showing XYZ. We need to help the African-American community because this is what we're seeing. And I saw it before with the HIV crisis, with the gay community, is showing that the minority communities are constantly affected by these big pandemics. And we need to stop that, you know?
What's really interesting that's happening right now, and I keep going back to the data and analytics because I think that's such a really, it's a really big differentiator in this market right now because, you know, 10 years ago, nobody was checking for that data.
No.
And now, because we have people in power, because we have, you know, raised this as an issue, we've just had all of these presidential potential candidates, you know, coming in talking about their Black agendas and whatnot, which is the first that has ever really happened on the macro stage. So, you know, I'm really pleased with, you know, the fact that we are now dissecting in the moment versus looking at something that happened like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like we had to wait for things to come out, you know, when the flood in Louisiana happened. We had to wait 5 years for it to really for us to understand the impact. But right now, we're hearing the data real time, which actually gives us power right now to be able to impact change.
And we need more communities and more states and more cities to release this, because not every city, not every town, not every hospital is doing this, by the way, which bothers the crap out of me because the data's there. I work in data all day, every day. So I know the data is there. They're just scared what the numbers are going to show to back up the systematic racism again. You know? And so I agree. We now have the power in this data. If the data's coming out and showing this, what can we do to rally each other to say this is not correct? Demand, demand, demand. Vote, 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 from school boards to local communities to the president, because that's how we finally get our voice heard to change some of the laws, some of the processes that are out there. We can't just sit at home because we've just been scorned so long. I get it. I understand it. It's like, why should I vote? Because last time I voted, nothing happened then. I think
the narrative has to change.
That shouldn't be the thing.
I think what you just said, it's the narrative has to change specifically about where people spending their time and where they're spending their votes. I mean, on a macro level, it almost doesn't even matter. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter in the Black community that their vote counts at the federal level. Okay. Right. And I understand there's a whole other that's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole nother question.
But I think the narrative needs to change at the local level, because where you can see your vote counting is in your own state, your own province, your own, you know, neighborhood, your own county, because that's where you get the people in there that are actually making policies that impact you on a day-to-day basis. Exactly. You can't control what's happening at the macro level because there are so many factors, so many things happening at a federal level that are beyond your control, that are beyond the president's control, beyond the House of Representatives, like beyond our control. But at a local level, if we can change the narrative within our own communities that, listen, if you were going to get out and vote, make sure damn well you know who the people are in your own communities, you know, that are for you and that will protect your interests, and make sure that you're voting for them much more so than what's happening at the federal level.
And lean into the allies. So there are great people that aren't of your own race that are willing to aid and willing to educate and willing to fund as well. Lean in on them, because sometimes we need to lean on them because they're going to be able to talk to the other races or the other socioeconomic groups or whatever it may be better than we potentially can because of whatever biases or racist tendencies, whatever it may be that they might have against you. So lean onto those people that are actually showing you and are willing to do so.
Look, there are always going to be the Omarosas and the Ben Carsons out there, so you have to make sure that you're not voting off of color, but you're voting off of your interests.
Bitch.
Okay.
Say that again. Because what's her name? Candace Owens? She's like, I've read an article recently that she's about to run for some public office. I'm like, girl, bye, cannot. But no, this COVID-19 is, and I knew the data was going to show that once it started coming out. And sure enough, it did it. And plus, a lot of the underlying conditions also paired up with it, like the hypertensions and diabetes that we see within our community, which stems back to a lot of the foods and things that we had to eat for centuries. And now it's literally become our cultural norm. Unfortunately, it's the flip side of that is it's harming us. So we need to be cognizant of that. Like, yes, we can love our fried chicken and our mac and cheese and all this stuff, but we don't need to eat it every day because it's harming us. It really is.
And portion control.
Portion control. Portion control. So, but yeah, like this is going to be a question that we got to continue to pay attention to, and an issue we need to continue to pay attention to, because we're dying out here. Like Jarrell and I just had a friend that passed from COVID-19, the black guy, 39 years old. It's going to make me tear up. 39 years old. And it's just like, this should not be happening in the quote unquote richest country in the world. Yeah. We should be able to find ways to help our community. So well, thank you for that question. That came from Buck, actually. So that was a very deep question. And this is probably a topic we're going to have to continue to dissect, honestly, because, like I said, I don't know if there's an urgent response right now. I really don't, especially within this pandemic. I don't know how we could bring these percentages down quicker right now. It's like, obviously, talking about it on platforms like we have, what education can we put out there? What tidbits can we put out there? You know, to make sure.
I would love to see like the NAACP, you know, putting out there like in marketing, you know, or someone or an organization, you know, start putting out commercials that are like, you know, specifically for our people, you know, like you got BET that can be having commercials, you know, that are educating our people. You know, you have, what's the, forget the Latino one, Universidad, I think is the name of the Latino channel. But like there are just different channels that, you know, and also like programs that are geared to people of color that doing those commercials, there should be some airtime on some way to educate our, you know, each other, you know, in a format like that.
I think there's also just more data analytics that needs to come out. Like what I believe is that in the roles that are high risk in these kinds of, in this particular pandemic, so you think about the folks that are working at the supermarkets, the folks that are working at delivery drivers, the folks that are working DoorDash, the people that are like the people that are doing the trash, the people that are, you know, delivering the mail, like people that are driving the bus, people that are driving the trains, like those people are in high risk. And what we haven't seen yet, because we're just getting a snapshot, right? It's great, good information, but we're not seeing what's the breakdown, because I would venture to say that in those high risk jobs that are also high touch or high exposure jobs, we have a disproportionate number of Black and brown people, because those are lower paying, entry level, you know, positions, you know, that are readily accessible and available to the Black and brown communities. But when you look at like the CEOs of companies or people that are, you know, quote unquote working from home on their laptop computers and whatnot, you're not seeing in the impoverished areas, that's not where those people are working. And so I would venture to say that they are disproportionately accessible to get infected because of the sheer nature of the sheer volume of people that are in that community that are working in those kinds of jobs compared to their white counterparts. It's particularly in urban communities.
Right. So community, if you have ideas or resources or contacts that you've seen or know that's going to aid our communities, let us know, because we'll at least put it up on our social media. That way, the more education that you have, the better decision-making processes you can make during this pandemic and onward, honestly, for hypertension and diabetes, et cetera, et cetera.
And
we
I
need
want
to aid our community.
Yeah, and I also want to say too, like again, still shout out to all of those doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals that are still on the line.
Absolutely.
Like we definitely do not want to take away from the fact that
Nope.
there are countless of people out there,
Yep.
like, who are on the flip side of it, risking their lives actually at work, taking care of
Hmm.
other people, So
Definitely.
It's one of those things where you can also kind of help them also just by staying your ass home too. You stay at
Hmm.
home, that's less people that they have to, work with, and that's less exposure to them as well too. So there's a way for us to help each other by making sure we do both.
I
So
hope that on the outside of this, we see a lot of advocacy for policy change, particularly in the space of pandemic. So, like, what happens the next time? Because there will be a next time. What
mhm,
happens with those people that are in high risk? We recognize that there are folks that are in the hospitals or providing care and all that stuff that are putting themselves at death's door and exposing themselves, to make sure that people are taken care of. But then there are all these other workers, and they're really like, we don't have. Yes, we had this $2 trillion stimulus package, but this thing came out of the fly, and
Or the
it's
bat. Sorry. Ill timed. Ill timed.
it just it was an afterthought. It wasn't a preparation for. And I hope on the outside of this, we start seeing advocacy for social programs that provide relief and or protection, for these people that are putting themselves on, in these don't have a choice but to put themselves, at risk because of their job requires them to do so.
And I do have to do one shout out to Phoebe Putney Memorial Hospital in Albany, Georgia. I don't know if I shared it on the podcast or not, but my uncle actually was one that got COVID-19, was on a ventilator, and black man. And we've seen all the data that show. Oh, it's gonna make me cry. Wow. Wow. That shows that once you get on a ventilator, the odds are slim. But thank God, all the prayers and everything, he made it. He was able to go home last Thursday. Woo! Wow! I'm gonna try not to boo-hoo right now.
He made it home,
He
girl.
made it home,
Made
and I
it
just want to
home.
shout out those healthcare workers there because, like you said, they're putting their lives on the line to save
Yep.
the lives of people that we all care for.
mhm.
And yeah. So anyway, I'm trying not to boo. So thank you for that question.
Yes.
Keep your Ask Your Aunties questions coming. We like those questions. And we still got a queue. So if you haven't heard your question, we'll get to them.
We'll get there. Yeah.
We'll get there. Because we like doing that segment. So all right. The next new segment we have tonight is, we love a T-ism, is the Superlatives. And so that's your
Yes.
most likely twos. So you guys sent a lot of them. And
Yeah.
we'll try to knock out as many as we
Y'all
can
came
tonight.
through.
And this is actually going to be a good segment if you do watch us on YouTube to watch, because we each have our own cards. And each of the aunties are probably going to try each other on some of these most likelies. So we will see where this goes, because y'all sent some shady questions in here too. So, all right, this first one, I might as well.
I'll keep the minutes.
Okay, there we go. Because also, just a reminder, we have our happy hour wig party for our anniversary, April
Yes.
15th.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
April
Wednesday,
15th,
y'all.
from 8 to 9:30. So the link is on Facebook and IG. So we want to make sure that we talk to all of you guys. So
And is that
hop in
8 to
there.
9:30 Pacific, Eastern or Central? Okay,
That is
just
Eastern.
make sure.
Yep, 8 to 9:30 Eastern time. Sorry about that. I'm just so used to saying Eastern, I guess, or living in Eastern now again. So 8 to 9:30 Eastern time. What is that?
That's perfect
5
happy hour
to-
over here. That's
That's-
5
yeah,
o'clock over
That
here.
is happy hour for you.
Look, come
5 to
through
6:30.
West Coast. Come through,
Yes.
y'all.
5
Look, we
to
gonna turn
6:30
up.
Pacific.
Damn.
But some of these questions we're probably going to turn around on y'all too. So be ready and bring your finest wig as well, because it'll be a wig happy hour. So
Yes.
so here we go. The first one, we might as well get the shady one out the way.
Oh Lord.
From Mr.
I don't even
Smithy,
know
of
this.
course. Most likely to leave the aunties and go solo. Oh Lord
Oh.
Jesus.
You doing it?
Yep. 1, 2. We'll do 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh,
Yes.
damn it.
So for the community, Jarrell said Dewan. I said Dewan. And Dewan said Jarrell.
Okay, so
The
I'll
only reason why I say Dewan is because I feel like one day Dewan might just get so upset with us.
And sick of us and be like, I don't need these bitches. I don't need this vibe or this
Well, I'm done
energy
with
in my
this.
life. I'm too old and I'm too grown for this. I'm like, she didn't try me for the last nerve. I'm
It's
out.
like, that Leo is gonna come out.
Yep.
And once he's done with something, he's done.
It's a wrap.
Gone. It's a
Done.
wrap.
Done.
That's why I said that. That's funny. Why'd you say Jarrell, Dewan?
I feel like if I weren't doing this podcast, I wouldn't be doing any podcasts.
Yeah.
So, and you started this podcast. So, like, why would you give something up that you started? I figured it would be Jarrell.
I feel that.
Maybe it's like a LGBTQ plus sports podcast or something like that.
Right. I want to be on that one too.
That's gonna look. You know how groups change their names after one fall off. Once the one leave, we gonna change our whole name.
Okay. Let's see here. Next one comes from Mike V. Most likely to get a sex change. Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Sex change.
You ready, Dewan?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
I even said myself.
We all said Jarrell. Even Jarrell said
myself
Jarrell.
too. I said myself too. Yeah, look. I don't know what it is, but I just find, women, the female body just so beautiful. And I just I would love to just wear some of the outfits and some of the clothes and some of the makeup and her, everything.
Yeah.
I would.
That's why she got this new wig on tonight. She said, I'm going to get these new wigs
She
out.
getting into it.
Yeah, it would be me before them any day, y'all.
Yes.
I had to read myself on that one. I was not even gonna try it.
Let's see here. Mike has some good questions, but I'm gonna try to mix it up with the people at least and come back to them. So thank you, Mike, for all the questions you have here. This next one is from Garris.
Yes,
and
Garris.
It says,
my sis.
Who is most likely to win a drag competition? Ooh. Let me think.
Okay.
Ooh. I'm torn between two. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Dewan. Okay. Look, hold on. Okay, so I know why y'all did it. And I get that. But of the three of us who watch RuPaul's Drag Race and follows more drag than any of us, Dewan does. She most certainly do.
I feel
and
like
I know she'll be very chic. She'll be very chic, and she'll have a bomb ass number. That lip sync will be on point because she don't half ass do anything. She'll be beat for the gods because she don't want nobody to come for her. Y'all don't lie.
That is all
community knows the one.
But see, the thing of it is I watch things on TV because I don't want them in my life. So I watch the Housewives for the drama because bitch don't want that in her life. I watch the drag queens on TV because she don't want to be a drag queen. She might wear a wig every once in a while, but that face is never beat, honey. She ain't wearing them shoes.
If the three of us had to, I can see you taking the crown. Because they do the Q&As and shit like that. If it was something like RuPaul's Drag Race, you would win other three of us. You would definitely win.
I could agree with that.
I feel like Jarrell and I would give a great number because we picked the right song, all of that.
Clinton, death drives.
We would be lit for that part of it.
Okay.
But the whole totality of a RuPaul's Drag Race, I feel like Dewan would analyze it enough and give the totality of what they look for in that show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that.
But I went with Jarrell. I chose Jarrell just because more of the the number aspect because Jarrell would like go lit all.
I will give you. I will entertain the fuck out of you.
And she already pulls the numbers out and goes on shows, so that's not a hard leap for either one of those two questions.
No. I did.
I would put myself at a close second though.
But I did post on Instagram, like, was it last week? A photo of me doing drag.
Yes, yes.
I was like, come on, legs.
I didn't have them legs, though. Yeah.
So thank you, Garrett, for that question. All right, the next one's from Dominic, and Dominic sent some crazy ones. Dominic sent all these crazy questions for a girl. Which one do I want to use from Dominic?
Come on, Dom.
Let's see. We'll do this one. Most likely to end up on the FBI most wanted list.
1, 2.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh, Corral.
Oh, you went with Corral. Thank you. Thanks, Auntie, for having my back. You a real one. She got my back. Ow.
So I chose Jarrell. Dewan chose me. Jarrell chose himself.
You on a roll, Jarrell.
Wait, so why did you choose me over Jarrell?
I feel like you're giving me Carol Baskin vibes. Like,
okay.
it's not just about the ratchet, because like the FBI get in some serious shit. So like this be some undercover, like you never know. Like if we would show up for the podcast waiting for Corral to call us and it don't come, and then all of a sudden we get a message that we text him like this number has been disconnected. And then we look on the internet and it says, Corral Revis in Atlanta, Georgia has been arrested for racketeering and being a drug lord for Eastern China for the last 15 years. Like it would be something completely out there.
Interesting.
Carol Baskin.
I can see that. I would never though, because like I know my parents would be like, "What the hell you doing?"
I feel like you can plot something really well that will get you on there. I don't think you would ever execute it. I'll probably be the one that would execute the shit. Like, girl, I know you got a plan. Let me swoop that plan. I would execute.
My differentiator was the level of severity. Now, if we were talking who would go to county jail, that clearly would be Jarrell. Because she almost went last week. She almost went last week. Who almost got into a fight at the park where they all supposed to be social distancing.
Right on that one.
I'm just saying. Don't get mad, girl.
Oh, Lord. Oh, thank you, Dom, for that question.
That was a good one.
All right, let's see here. The next one is from Brandy. Hey, Brandy. Your sister, Brandy.
Oh, that one. Hey, girl.
Let's see. Which one from her is let's see here. Actually, there's one specifically towards, I'll say that because another person did the same question. Let's see. Most likely to fart in public. What do you think on that? That's interesting.
Okay.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Corral. We all said Corral.
I don't think I would care to not do it.
That's really the reason why I picked you. She was like, so I did it, and
because I was like, I don't see Dewan farting in public. I was like, maybe Jarrell, but then I was like, out of the three of us, probably me. I wouldn't be like obscene with it, but if you got to fart, you got to fart. Like you don't want your stomach hurt, get the bump cut.
You did look at that plant last market days.
Oh, you right.
She can build a brand for herself.
Oh, Lord. All right, so this next one is from Alex, and it says, most likely to paint.
Most likely to paint?
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay, so I said Dewan said Dewan, Jarrell said Corral. I was torn between myself and Dewan, honestly. Yeah. Only reason I went with Dewan for me was Dewan just he likes a lot of the sculptures and paintings and architecture and things like that. I don't know if he's a painter, but I know literally that's what his feed is. Like 90% of it is architecture, design, all that stuff, and then cute boys.
See, I didn't
or
pick him
funny
because
memes.
I didn't pick Dewan because I can also see Dewan getting frustrated if it didn't come out the way that he wanted it to be. And I could be like him, like, I don't got time for this. I'm done. Like she
He
will
would throw it
abort
away,
that shit
too.
real
He
quick and
wouldn't
be like,
hold on
my
to that
time
shit
is
either.
precious. Well, exactly. So that's why I went with you, Krill, because I was like, you know what, look, I know she'd be like, okay, I started this, I'm gonna finish this, whether it turns out good or not, I'm gonna finish it. But I could see Dewan be like, fuck this. I got something else I can do. Where my Netflix at? Like,
honestly, like if I retire, I think I'm gonna take up painting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that will be something that I could like you just find your own kind of creative outlet through that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all didn't.
I would say I wanted
this hoe
to
is
paint.
not artistic at all, bitch. She can't draw. She can color inside the lines and it stops right there. Okay.
You see that?
Like, I can't draw, but I would try to probably do like some kind of abstract kind of thing and see what it turns into.
No.
Do you guys remember watching Love Is Blind? Do you remember that on Netflix? Did you ever watch that? And
I saw
there was
an episode at the barber.
There was that scene where they had to like recreate a like this really pretty cake or whatever. Do you remember that? And then the one guy,
I remember it.
Yeah, and the one guy, like his cake was like doo-doo brown. It didn't look like anything like the picture. That would be you.
That's literally me.
Okay. This next one's from our homeboy at In Your Mouth podcast that we just actually did an episode last week. So if you haven't checked it out, check out your aunties on In Your Mouth podcast. So this is from Michael Munoz. And it says, most likely to eat a piece of pie out of their partner's butthole.
Know the answer.
Oh my God.
Know this answer.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Auntie Corral.
Auntie Corral.
The trifecta on Corral is true. Nom nom, bitch. Nom nom.
More Ovaltine, please.
Oh, Lord. This next one's from Nick Kish, and it says, most likely to solve an old case during quarantine. Oh, I know this answer. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, okay, so I said Dewan.
Okay.
Dewan said Dewan. Jarrell said Jarrell. Okay, why'd you pick yourself?
Well, the only reason why, because I've been doing like a lot of puzzles during quarantine, like those 1,000-piece puzzles. Like I've been doing a lot of like detail-oriented things. Like I've been learning Albanian. I've been playing the piano. I've been doing more writing, the puzzles. I've been doing those things that require that small little details and stuff like that. So that's the only reason why I picked myself.
I said Dewan just because he'd be watching like all them
shows. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Every last one of them.
Mm-hmm. Doing all the research.
Yeah, I forgot.
Bitch got to be prepared.
I'm playing with my
All right. This is going to be a twofer. So we'll ask the first one. It's from the same person, from Todd. Okay. And it says, most likely to have an OnlyFans account.
Ooh.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I said Jarrell. Jarrell said Jarrell.
Oh, damn.
I said Corral.
Okay.
I would talk about it. I don't think I would ever do it, though. Jarrell,
I ain't got no shame in my game. Like, if I had to pay this rent, damn well she'd be like, well, look, I got bills to pay. So,
I'm not mad at it. But then the second part of it now, then it says, it's so shady, least likely to profit from their OnlyFans account.
Oh, damn.
So we got to assume we all had one. Who would be least likely to profit from theirs? Okay. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Dewan, we all said Dewan.
I think Dewan would go all the way. Dewan would be too stingy for his own fans.
She'll be that page that they charge $20, but you only get like one nipple. You don't get none of the goodies, but you pay $20 to see that OnlyFans page. It'd be disappointing, but guess what? She got that $20 for the month, didn't she?
She ain't twerking. She ain't got no angles.
But you know what? But I will say this though. I can also see you like not doing that, but also marketing yourself really well because that's what you do though too. Like I can see you still being like, I ain't gonna show you all that, but guess what? I'm still gonna get those coins.
But he wouldn't have.
It'll be nothing but a tease.
He wouldn't have the repeat business. Like we'd pay that 1 month, then he would see his numbers go down.
He'll be good at cooking.
He'd get that 1 month. That 1 month would be very profitable.
That's it.
Yep.
But then that next month, bitches be pissed as hell.
That's a wrap.
Thank you, Todd. All right.
Let's go.
Okay. Man, y'all, we did say you could ask us anything, so here we go. Most likely to sniff armpits during sex. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I said DeJuan. The rest of the ladies said Auntie Corral. I don't know. Like, I feel like DeJuan, you would do it out of curiosity and be like, man, this is a man. Like, I could just see you being like, just like basket in that moment, it just being.
Nope.
Only if it's clean. But
I had a bad experience at a party once. Nope, ruined.
What you sniff?
At a party?
At a party, at like a circuit party.
Okay.
We used to go to the black party here in New York, and it was like the leather party. It was kind of like how S&M week in Chicago.
IML.
Yes, IML. But it was a party here in New York, and it was all like, leather daddies and da 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 da. And this year, like, I don't know what it was, but like man smell was really popular. I got there around 2:00. It smelled like feet. Like you walk in a door and it smelled like feet and onions. It was so bad. And about 4 a.m, we're all having a good time, and then all of a sudden you smell something. Turned around, some big bear, overalls, clicked the links, came down, and literally shat on the floor.
Oh.
I left right then and there. I said, I'm out. I'm not.
He did the
shit.
church finger. He did the church finger.
No, ma'am. I'm gone, and never came back. So I kind of got turned off to a lot of the smell stuff.
Yeah.
Ever since that, it was a big turn off.
I mean, I already smell. I smell Corey's armpit, so it is what it is.
Yeah. That's why we picked you, boo.
Yeah,
Right.
no, yes, honey.
Who asked that question?
That one was from. Let me go back up here. That was from Buck. Hey, Buck.
Okay, Buck. Hey, Buck.
I think Buck a little nasty. Like,
look, let me tell you, I ain't gonna put her business on blast. But if y'all ever get a chance to talk to Buck, Buck got some stories, girl, that will leave your mouth agape. Okay. Like,
Agape is a ghast.
Girl, like the story you just told, DeJuan, she got some shit on top of that. I'd be like,
oh, literally.
I'd be sitting there, I'd be like, sis, how, what? Okay, I love my big bro though. That's why I've avoided so much in my life, because my big bro will be like, I did this. Here's a lesson to take away from this.
Got to.
Noted. Good. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Like.
If we get out of this quarantine by August, we need to all meet up in Market Days in Chicago. Buck, if you're listening. Buck, if you're listening.
The whole
we were actually talking about that. Him and I were just talking about that last weekend.
Like Market Days
That's
would
the
be
plan.
That would be.
Oh
my God! And
with
that would probably be
with
like
all
the
these
first.
prides being canceled and stuff like that too. Like
that would be the shit. It would be amazing.
Okay, so we'll get through a couple more here. Here we go.
Okay.
This one says, where did it go?
Who's it
from? This is from A. Derek. Hey, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
Most likely to bust out in a dance routine to their favorite video.
Wait, say that one more time.
Most likely to bust out a dance routine to their favorite video. There we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm torn.
It is both you and I. It is both you and I.
It was, yes. I was literally between the two.
We do amp each other up, Corral.
We
do amp each other up.
Because I was like literally going between the two, but I was like, okay, but Corell is actually more into the singing and the music, and Corell will be more into the dancing part of it.
But see, the community, I wish y'all could see us. Like when we get together with our group and we go out, Corell and I will be in the front line, be like 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, we'd be like, oh,
Absolutely.
remember this video? We'd be like, remember this music video? Like it'd be us two, like
We
getting
do.
everybody else together in
We be sweating
formation,
our
like
edges
that.
off and
We
everything.
sure do.
Like,
We-
Terrell probably knows more of the routine, but I'm gonna be right there with her.
right there, right there.
Oh,
And see,
We-
here's
we-
Michelle. Here's
Right.
I'll be standing by the bar,
Yelling at her
bitch.
on the
first
phone.
I'll
time,
give you a shimmy. I'll
look,
give you.
first time in Dallas, I remember we went to Roundup, and I was looking at Corell, and I was like, "Oh, they line dancing. I ain't never done this before." So I'm over there just watching. I'm watching. I'm like, okay. And I just jump in there, and I just start line dancing with these people, and the crew were looking at me like, "Do you know how to line dance?" I was like, "No, I was just watching, y'all. I'm just
Like I do today.
right up in there." And then here came Corell too, jumped right up in that bitch like, "We'll be in
We're
here."
gonna learn this shit today.
He sure did.
That was
Oh,
Oh
good.
man. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is from Helena. Helena or Helena?
Oh,
Sorry.
Helena. Helena. Hey, girl.
Oh, okay. I can't pronounce
Yeah.
it. My bad, girl. And it says most likely to survive and thrive in a zombie apocalypse. Hmm. All right, here we go.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh wow!
Ooh.
So this is the
different
first time.
answer.
The first
Yeah.
tie.
3 different answers. So who did you say, Dawn?
I said Corell. I said you.
Why so?
I just feel like you would have like a secret bunker somewhere. Like she always into like the data and the analytics. You like, you know what? I saw this stuff out there on the internet. You know, I already saw Twitter. Black Twitter was already talking about this, so I went to the store
lock,
already.
okay?
Right.
You know, like she would know before everybody else know.
That is
Like I
actually
feel
a
like
very
that's
good thing.
the kind of like survival skills that you need.
That's a true
What about you? What about you, Jerome?
Okay, go Jarrell.
Well, I picked myself. And the only reason why I picked myself is because okay, so this is some real tea.
Uh-huh.
Zombies fucking scare the shit out of me. Okay? And so my overactive imagination has low-key planned for shit like this. Okay? So like I have sized up the city of like getting hiding places, like where to go, like people to keep around, people to throw at zombies in case, you run from people, like you have to have your throwaways, to give you a couple extra steps, to get away. Like I already planned this shit like
is
through and
super.
through. And she ain't got nobody like coming for a bitch next, so she ain't got no problem doing that. So she she did.
She'll sacrifice somebody else.
Right. And I said
Got
Dewan
no problem
just because I feel like he likes to cook, like so he'd be able to survive, and he would probably be like, oh, I made this coconut bark sand meal and it's delicious. Or something, like so crazy.
Oh my
Like,
God,
okay,
you're
girl.
so right.
Oh, is that vegan?
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like he would like somehow know that the apocalypse was already coming, so he would have probably already been gone.
That
Because he saw it on like
he
some
ain't
cold
sticking
case or
around.
something.
I saw the news.
Right,
Like we
exactly.
all knew it was coming.
He's like, I saw this on episode of 227 last year. Like, so I knew what the sign. Like, bitch, how you know that?
She done spent all her coins on a plane and it's circling around up here while everybody else is going crazy, and that bitch gonna land somewhere where ain't nobody out there.
Oh, that's why I thought Devon.
That was a good one. Thanks, Helena.
Let's see here. Trying to like make sure I'm getting as many variety in names and things like that. Couple of people asked this one. So Zidane and I think Rashad.
That's my bestie. Hey, motherfucking bestie. Ow.
They both asked, who's the most likely to go to a bathhouse?
I mean, on a regular?
Yeah, how often we going?
It ain't no loopholes like y'all tell me. There ain't no loopholes.
No, we just getting clarification.
I already know.
Right?
It doesn't
The
change
answer
my
might change.
answer.
In fact, they don't change my answer.
1, 2, 3. They
Corral.
said,
Yeah,
fine,
that's correct.
but I try myself. I don't go anymore. A bitch is married and everything. But I mean, even if Corey said, "Let's go to a bathhouse," I'll go. But like, okay, girl, put your shoes on.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been.
And I've been to a bathhouse
Yeah,
before.
I've
So I
been.
mean,
You know,
hey,
so
Steve. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go.
yeah.
Shout out to Brandon.
But just never doing like a market days or a pride, because that line be too damn long,
Yeah,
yo.
that line.
People be lined up at like 9 p.m., bitch. But like,
I'm like,
I've only been to a bathhouse, was it once or twice? Either once or twice in my entire life. And I did not do anything. I think it's only been once. Has it been once? Yeah, it's only been once. It was only once. And it was in Pittsburgh, believe it or not, before I lived there.
I've been 3 times, but it's only been to the Steamworks in Chicago. And one time I actually went to hook up with a guy I met at a bar because we were both staying with people, so neither one of us could go to each other's house. So we're like, well, you want to just go to Steamworks and fuck? And sure enough, we did.
That's funny. All right, so this is going to be the last one just because we're just running out of time. And we got a lot of questions. So once again, this will be another segment that we'll bring back. And community, be prepared. We're going to ask you on the wig
really
party.
Good. This is really good.
This last one says, out of the aunties, which one?
Who's it from?
Oh, this is from, it's from my mom. Hey, Linda Revis.
Oh, Mom.
Hey, Mom. It says, out of the aunties, which one would run for president? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
we all tried each other.
No, that's the killer part.
We all picked ourselves.
That's good. We all picked ourselves. So, Jarrell, why would you run for president?
Well, I think I would run for president. One, first of all, I'm loud and I'm always talking, looking out for people. So I'm always ready to be like, we need to look at this person. We need to be checking for this person. We need to be checking for this person. Now, I didn't say I would win, okay, but she would run.
You'd be like Joe Exotic.
Right, okay. But no, like also though, but like,
You're right.
in
Before I go
high
to
school,
teamwork.
like I also, like I was class president, state body president, citywide president, student body president of the school. Like I also like just remember and just have great memories of just, doing stuff like that. I just enjoy it. So yeah, so that's another reason why I run, because I did all that stuff growing up. Like even ran for like national president, in 2005. So yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you pick yourself?
I'm really policy driven. I would be like Elizabeth Warren, basically, like the mom. Have a plan for everything. You know how to pull people together. Ain't got time for the bullshit, for all the politics. I'm cutting right to the chase. You're gonna know what my agenda is. I'm gonna have a PowerPoint presentation. It's all gonna be wrapped up in a bow.
And I said myself, because similar to Jarrell, like I was like class president a few years, and I was student council president, and then just even through college, I was involved in like everything on God's earth. It seemed like. So it's just kind of one of those things I've always done it. And I've actually thought about running for local stuff before. Just because I feel weird, and it's weird to say this about yourself, I feel like I have a knack for being able to find a common ground for everybody somehow. And then figuring out what really needs to be done. And then if I don't have the skills, finding out who has the skills. Because I don't think I would always put myself first. Of saying I know everything, but I'm going to be able to find somebody that does, and we're going to get it done kind of thing. So similar to Jarrell, like it's just stuff I've already done, and I've already kind of thought about doing it. But then I'm like, ooh, the second that dick pic come out one day, it's a wrap.
Girl, that's the same thing. Like I got too many landmines out there that just blow everything up.
But I already figured out a plan to like do that. I'm like, okay, if that come out, like a lot of times what I find in politics, not to like belabor this point, it's just like I feel like they just never own up to anything.
Yeah,
and I feel like all day, every day, you just love when either your spouse or your friend just be like, you know what, my bad. I'm sorry, but here's what I'm gonna do better, and actually get better and grow.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would want to do that. But it's just like, I feel like a lot of times politicians just don't do that. Just say you're
Mhm.
sorry. Damn.
Yeah.
Say you're sorry. And I think I would be able to do that. So
I
that's
mean,
awesome.
when you
though. I
own
love
the
that
stuff,
everybody
when you
comes up.
own your own stuff, then nobody can use
Yeah,
it against you, and that's a
exactly.
universal truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sheesh. But community, thank you for all these questions. Sorry we didn't get to them all, but we will get to them all in another
There was a
episode.
lot.
Yeah, that was
Honestly, it's just impossible. Y'all will be here for hours,
Woo.
if not already, because we are pushing
We're at
those.
an hour 55 right now.
Yeah, so exactly. Like y'all would be here for a hot ass minute if we did all of them, but we will bring them back. Speaking of politics, though, before we move on, shout out to Bernie for backing out today on the day that we are recording
Yeah.
this. No,
Yeah.
I know it was probably a hard thing to do, but like I think it was for the best because, like Whoopi said, where is the direct path to podium that you see? And he ain't got no answer.
Yeah.
This is what we were waiting on. And check on your Bernie your Bernie bros, because they just lost in the wilderness right now. So
Leave them alone.
look,
Make
it's
sure you Bernie
all-
bros vote though. That's all I know. Do not throw a
Fact.
tantrum. Take your ego out of this. Take your emotion out of this. We gotta get old boy out the White House. That's all that matters at this
You
point.
got 7 months to get that shit together.
Seriously.
I'm actually glad that it happened now instead of being prolonged into much later in the this process, because it allows us to kind of get all this visceral reactions out so that we can focus on getting unified on the tail end of this when it really matters the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's interesting because Biden has been really quiet. Like, you haven't heard anything, with the exception of that one video that he's running that has Trump using his own words basically about, how the coronavirus pandemic is going. But we haven't heard anything from him, which is probably good. He probably just needs to lay low for a while.
Right, and give those Bernie bros like a time to like just breathe and deal with their feelings and their loss, etc. Because otherwise, it would look a little too like haha in your face had he said something now. And so many people who were ready to vote for Bernie are already talking about, well, why is he the better option and all this other stuff. And it's just like, sis, like you lost.
Get it out your system.
Yeah, right, get it out now.
Get
it out in April.
When November comes rolling around,
November 3rd, you better be your ass where you need to be voting.
Absolutely. So his ears must have been ringing, but community, we really appreciate you a lot. Like, there would be no podcast without you all, honestly. It'd just be us three talking to each other. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you taking the time to send these questions, these superlatives. We appreciate the DMs. We appreciate the comments that you send us. We appreciate you checking out our IG and our social media. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you throughout this first year, and hopefully stick with us for at least another year or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it ends up being. We appreciate it. Subscribe, download, share, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend while you're in quarantine. If they're looking for some new entertainment, here you go. And hopefully you're staying safe out there. And I thank you, aunties. Thank you, because I came to each of you at the beginning like, I'm thinking about doing this podcast. You want to do this podcast? Hey, I'm thinking about doing this podcast. You want to do this podcast? And you guys hopped on. We figured it out along the way, so I appreciate you two a lot as well. So
thank you guys too, and like Auntie Corral said, thank you, community. Like, this is our little baby, but we really wanted this space to be something bigger than us. And this past year, you guys have really helped us be able to do that. And the reason why we harp on sharing and liking and downloading and all that other stuff is because we know that we're not the only ones, and y'all aren't the other ones that need this space too. There are so many people out there like us that need this, and the more that we share, the more you subscribe and you get other people listening, the more people we can reach, and the bigger our platform can grow. Because people like us need a platform. We deserve a spot and a seat at the table too. But unfortunately, like some people, we have to work for it, and we got to create it ourselves. But we need your help. We know we can't do it by ourselves. So thank you guys. Keep pushing and keep rocking with us. And thank you guys.
Yeah, and honestly, we called you guys a community because that's what we really want this to be. We want to create, the reason we are doing this is because we want to provide a safe place where we can talk about the things that matter the most to us, because we're not hearing those voices out there. So, if there's something that you guys want to hear us talking a little bit more about, a little bit less about, please let us know. We so appreciate the feedback that you guys give us, because we're doing this for you. We're not doing this for us. So we love you. Keep sharing your advice, your ideas, your suggestions. Keep giving us feedback. Let us know when we're representing you. And please, just know that we love you. Thank you, guys.
And until next week, wash your hands, wash your legs, wash your ass, and we'll see you next week.
All right, bye, guys.